Hello and welcome to Comedian versus Economist. My name's Adam and we're once again joined, as always, by my little older brother and real-life economist, Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
G'day, Adam. How are we going?
Good, thank you. Happy birthday,
Yeah.
first of all. Happy birthday for yesterday.
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry I didn't get you anything. Except complete liberation. Happy Liberation Day. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's exciting. Massive show coming up. Let's get straight into it. Roy Morgan's CEO Michelle Levine described a surge in the labour market underutilisation as calamitous. Others called it simply dreadful, and one commentator going so far as to say it was downright crummy. Retail sales are down again, possibly driven by Coles, where sales are down. And sales of secondhand Teslas are booming. Something must be wrong with them. But first, Thomas, does global recession hinge on the US labor market? The market that Musk is literally taking a chainsaw to. Things are looking grim.
Yes. Yeah, they are. Yeah, well, we had Trump's Liberation Day on April 2nd, US time, where he announced that 10% tariffs on every country in the world, with then special tariff rates for the most egregious offenders of selling stuff to the US.
How dare they?
Oh no!
We'll show
Outrageous,
them.
right? Yeah, yeah.
So as much as we've talked about tariffs and as much as the tariffs have been in the news, I've got to admit I hadn't really clocked what the sort of percentages were. I know we talked last week or the week before, on average it was going to be 10% or something. But now that I've seen, like, you kind of put it in those words and you go, it's 10% on every country, it doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah.
Why are we all freaking out? Or is it that bad? Is it just one of those things that's worse than I can grasp?
Yeah, I mean, bad. Again, like, tariffs do multiple things, so it depends on what your reference point for bad is. Like, does it increase the cost of stuff by 10%? And if you're worried about inflation, then yes, it is increasing the price of stuff. And that's got to feed through into the US economy. So that's kind of bad. Does it give your domestic manufacturers a leg up? Like, kind of potentially it does. Like, it, makes like a car produced in the US, and it's now got like an extra 10% more pricing power than it did. But it also depends on the imports as well. Like, talking about like certain car manufacturers, there's some certain components are coming from Europe, some are coming from Japan, some are coming from Taiwan.
Yeah,
so
right.
Even
so
though
if you
they're
build
produced
a car in the US out of all Chinese parts, then you haven't really won.
Yeah, you're probably not better off. Yeah. So so I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's not too bad. And that was the general sort of reaction to it. Like, people thought like this could get crazy. There was talk that that baseline tariff rate could be 20%. That would have probably rattled markets pretty hard. But it's 10%. But then also, like, it's 10%, but you get to negotiate your way back down potentially. The White House is open to doing deals to get that down.
The art of the deal. This is Trump's business acumen coming to the fore.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, so 10%. Australia. So Australia's looking at 10%. Interestingly, Trump name checked Australia in his Rose Garden presentation of this of Liberation. I don't know why it's called Liberation Day, but so stupid.
Why not?
Well, yeah, why not?
Why not? I think that's Trump's sort of MO. Like, you got to stop asking why.
Yeah,
and you just got to go, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Why did Trump do something? Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Who's going to stop him?
Yeah. So, but he name checked Australia, like listing sort of all the people who were like taking advantage of the US, and he name checked Australia, saying that Australia exports $3 billion worth of beef to the US every year, and accepts none in return. And I was like, it's a bit unfair. Then I looked into why. Australia put a ban on US beef in 2003 in response to mad cow disease. and just never lifted it.
Right.
Yeah.
I presume
And
they've cleared up the mad cow disease in the US.
yeah, US scientists have like gone to great lengths to point out that there's no mad cow
Oh, well done.
disease in America anymore. But it's just sort of locked in because like the Australian farm lobby's like, yeah, we kind of like not having to compete with American beef. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
so
mean, and I
that
get
was
it. Like if we're producing like a ton of beef here, we don't want to be bringing it in, right? Like, why would we?
yeah. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah.
No.
But then
Yeah.
Trump, yeah, but then the Trump's like, well, if we can't sell to you, why are we letting you sell to us?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
beef
probably
is yeah, and it's kind of a reasonable point. And all the reporting in the papers was a bit like because we banned it in 2003, cough cough. It's like,
right.
like looks, yeah, it's pretty unfair. It seems like,
Sounds
yeah,
like Trump
so,
starting beef with us about beef.
yeah, yeah.
All right.
But that's our biggest export to the US. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing, like I had a few charts here, which was interesting, just looking at the Bloomberg surveys economists in America, and the consensus forecasts have all gone through the floor in the
Right.
past month. So growth dropped through the floor, export growth tanked, one of the lowest levels on record, and business investment has also tanked as well. These are the forecasts. So it's a bit dependent on the chaos, and so economists are freaking out. But yeah, like investment, you think would depend on the economic outlook plus certainty around the business environment. All of that's uncertain, and so forecasts for business investment have also fallen to some of the lowest levels in years.
And are these a reflection of the tariffs specifically, or more just the general chaotic nature that Trump sort of provides?
I think, yeah, I think it is the chaos, but it's unwinding policies that were pro growth, which maybe you do want to unwind from. So free trade is pro growth, but has the potential, if it's not balanced and managed, to hollow out your manufacturing sector, which creates chunks of unemployment and a whole bunch of social issues. So maybe you do want to unwind from that kind of growth. Same story with the public sector and what Doge is, on paper trying to do, or what it says it's trying to do, sort of to re-privatize the US economy. So move away from public spending-led economic growth to more private sector led economic growth. But in the short run, that means winding back public sector spending, which is also reduces growth. And so, like, if there's a logic to what's happening in the US, and it's hard to know, it's hard to see through the chaos, but that's the sort of logic. It's like we've got to take some short-term pain now as we pivot away from free trade-led growth and public sector-led growth and move more towards domestic, economic activity and private sector economic activity. And there's going to be a short-run pain trade with that,
Right.
but the hope is that then sets you up for a stronger future. I'm telling it as Trump's aides would tell the story. Like, I don't know if that's actually what they're intending to do, but that's the logic there. And so I think economists are now saying like, well, that's the logic. Plus, there's a chaos element, and so we're going to start ratcheting back our expectations.
Right.
So,
And you think a lot of this rests on the employment data, like a lot of the negativity.
So
Or a lot
far
of the
it will. So after we record and potentially, but in between recording this now and when this pod goes to air next week, we'll get the US employment data on Friday night, and I think Michael Hartnett of Bank of America, he's saying like that's the key pivot point. Like if that comes in soft, then everyone's like, okay, it's on, recession's happening, we're in trouble. If it comes in strong, then people will relax. So it's going to be a pivotal release, as we say.
is there any clues about the employment data that we could get? Like, say, if there was a special crack team of enforcers set up to slash and burn government public employees, for example, if something like that happened, would that give us an early read on the potential employment data out of the US?
I mean, possibly if they were publishing accurate
Is
data. Who
that likely
knows?
to have to have an impact or make a difference on the employment data, the job cuts through Doge, or is it the job employment data too big for that to?
It's too big. Yeah, yeah, it's too big. I mean, you might see it if if they cut 350,000 jobs all in one
Mm,
month, you'd
yeah,
notice that for sure.
yeah,
If it takes place over 18 months, it'd be harder to read in the data, I reckon,
yeah. Fair
just
enough.
given everything else that's going on.
Thomas, speaking of jobs, what's going on in the Australian jobs market?
Yeah, so had some interesting data last week or the week before, which potentially suggests that the jobs market is starting to break.
Mm,
So there's sort of been two puzzles, like with the huge barrage of rate hikes that we had. There were two puzzles that came from that. One is that house prices didn't fall much
mm,
and are now back at record highs. Um, you thought that kind of rate of hikes should have put more downward pressure on house prices. So that was kind of interesting. Yeah, but yeah, so the other one was the labor market, is that we had all those rate hikes and the unemployment rate went from 3.5%, which is a 50-year low, up to 4.1%, which is just pretty much a 50-year low. Like,
mm.
so hasn't really come back. Yeah, hasn't lifted as much as we were expecting. And it's sort of something that economists have been watching, and like, labor market should be breaking. We're seeing the slowdown in retail sales. We know a lot of businesses are struggling. Insolvency data's up. Why isn't this showing up in the employment data yet?
So when you say breaking, we're talking about like not enough jobs, like or people losing jobs. Is that what we mean when we
Yeah,
say the labor market's breaking?
yeah. The unemployment rate is rising. That's your key
Right.
metric, that people
Okay.
can't
Yeah.
get jobs, so and they want jobs.
Right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we've been waiting for the unemployment rate to lift, but it hasn't lifted. But there's
Mm.
maybe now it's starting to look like it is. And what we're looking at is Roy Morgan's measure of unemployment and underemployment. So
Yeah.
Roy Morgan, the survey people, they have their own shadow measure.
Not to be confused with Roy Morgan, the mechanic, who's works out of Wingfield.
Really? Yeah, right. Okay. That's the kind of
Very good
localized
mechanic, though.
that. Yeah, right. Shout out to Roy. Okay. Okay, so Roy Morgan have their own unemployment measure, which is a lot more loose than the ABS one. So the ABS
Mm.
one is very restrictive. You've got to not be working more than like 6 hour, 2 hour, I don't know, 2 hours a week or something, or it's quite tight. To
Right.
qualify as unemployed, you have to. It's quite restrictive. So
Yeah.
like if you're working like 8 hours, but you're still looking for work, you're not counted as unemployed because
Mm.
you're working some. So the ABS measure's quite tight. Roy Morgan's much more loose. So it always sits above the official one. But interestingly enough, it's jumped in the last couple of months, up to sort of the highest level since COVID.
Mm. Right.
Yeah, so just in the direction of that, it's quite a sharp. Just the past couple of months, it's really lifted. So
Yeah.
just the direction of that is interesting, and it does, and that then squares up with our job ads data. So job ads have fallen quite sharply, and job ads typically move quite closely with the unemployment rate, but they haven't recently. So there's sort of an expectation that the unemployment rate is going to follow where the jobs ad data is leading. Yeah, and then you've got the NAB business survey, like hiring intentions are falling and trending lower. So yeah,
Right.
so I think it's just interesting. It's like, oh yeah, so this measure now maybe is suggesting, yeah, that unemployment rate is starting to lift,
Yeah.
and
Right.
yeah,
And so we should see that soon in the ABS data. You'd think, like,
you'd think
or do we
so,
need? Does the
yeah.
ABS need to fix their data a bit?
No, they need to. All that matters is that you're consistent.
Yeah.
I think, like, yeah, like the actual. I mean, I'm speaking from an economist perspective. As long as the
Mm.
data is consistent, then you get a read from the movements within it. If the
Right.
definition changes, then you can't compare the series, so you
Yeah.
don't know what's going on. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's just interesting. Roy Morgan's has spiked recently. I would expect the ABS measure to spike soon,
Mm.
and it typically moves with a lag. It lags GDP by about 6 months,
Yeah.
so that's sort of consistent. Yeah, so we should
And will
the
that be
unemployment
will
rate
that be
should.
the trigger for the RBA to cut rates then? Like if they see
It'll
that start going up, they'll be like, "Oh, okay, we're on. It's on. It's time."
Yeah, I definitely think so. Yeah. If we
Bring
get
out the rate cut box of utensils. Michelle will say to the team,
right,
off
yes,
to the
from
off to the stationery cupboard, the rate cut box.
yeah. No, they'll be getting that one out. Yep, definitely. Maybe
Go
three of them
time.
actually. Yeah, get three of them down. We'll just have them ready, lined up.
Good. Oh, yeah. I don't want to see people losing jobs, but I do want to see rate cuts. So I'm conflicted. I'm torn. All right, let's take a break here, grab a word from this week's sponsor, and be back with more CVE right after this. Welcome back. You're on Comedian versus Economist. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at CVE Podcast. Thomas, retail sales data came in. What did we learn from the retail sales data?
Yeah, things continue to soften in the retail sector. We now have 2 months in a row, not massive falls, but definitely trending down after. Yeah,
Do we have to use the word soften? Can we? I feel like these are economic. Can't we just say
yeah, it's true.
They
Because we
got
don't
worse?
say harden. The data never hardens up.
Depends how long you leave it out in the sun.
Yeah. I don't know.
What's the opposite of comes in? It's starting to soften.
I guess you maybe start to firm up a little. Maybe. You could say that data's starting to firm up. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I'm always open to the language evolves.
Starting to stiffen.
Yeah, pass.
Okay. But it came in soft.
Yeah. Came in soft. Yeah. So that's we know like on a per capita basis, people have been retail spending's been falling for like 8 consecutive quarters. It's been held up by population growth, the aggregate figures, but even now those aggregate figures are starting to roll over. So that's a bit of bad news for consumer-facing businesses. This is excluding food and eating out, which tend to be a bit, because food makes it a bit more stable because it's just not discretionary. So yeah, when you exclude food and eating out.
Food and eating out. Well, I feel like eating out is really discretionary. That's about as discretionary as it gets.
That's true. Yeah.
Who knows why they exclude these things? The important thing is that they're consistent.
That's right.
That's what I learned. Yeah, right.
The other thing I thought was really interesting when looking at this data is there's here has got one like it's looking at supermarkets, like looking at that food retail trade.
Yeah.
And it includes liquor. And liquor spiked in 2020 with COVID. Like it lifted like 40% pretty much overnight. And
It was a
like
big
supermarkets,
night, that one. I remember it.
It's big.
Oh man. Whew. There was some hungover people the day after that spike.
So it spiked, and supermarket spending and other specialized food didn't. Like it had a bit of a wobbled around a bit, but just has stayed pretty much on the trend it's had since 2015 and earlier. So just that sort of trended upwards. But liquor spending,
there's a spike in the food and other specialty food.
A little bit. Well,
that was probably the pizzas we ordered on the night, the alcohol spike night.
Right.
A lot of Uber Eats coming in that night. That returned really quickly, whereas what you're saying is the liquor never returned.
Liquor never returned. So yeah, like it lifted 40% pretty much overnight, but then has since then flatlined. So people lifted their spending and then just stayed there, which I don't know. I don't understand that. I find it interesting because COVID ended and people just went, yeah, we're just going to keep spending the same amount of money on liquor.
Maybe, I don't know, connected people in some way. Like we had I remember in COVID, there's like people were kind of almost protest. There's some people having like protest parties And then there was also other people who were like, hey, to hell with immunization. Why don't we all just find someone we know who's got COVID and we'll have like a let's all get COVID party. And I don't know, maybe it just got people together again, like through some, and everyone was like, yeah, because they started feeling rebellious. They started, a lot of drinking going on, and just thought, this is kind of fun. Let's do this more often.
Just stay there. Maybe.
Feels
maybe.
Right. Us all getting together and sharing infections feels right.
And sharing infections and drinks. That's how Aussies connect.
No, you're right though. It is odd because I don't know. Like my anecdotal, I guess, research is always it's been that alcohol consumption's dropping. They talk about alcohol consumption dropping in young people. Young people aren't drinking as much. There's been a huge uplift in non-alcoholic beverages. Zero alcohol beers, zero alcohol wines, all that sort of stuff. So there's certainly seems to have been a shift in recent times away from alcohol. You mentioned last time Northern Rivers moved really heavily into weed. For anyone who heard the show last week, some very localized data coming out of that region.
Have you seen any data for Wingfield?
No, not yet.
No.
But I'll give Roy a call. He's been surveying some of his customers. But no, that's the vibe I've been getting, and so it is surprising to see this chart that says that liquor sales have spiked and then remained really high. I guess the question is, are we talking about the number of sales or the amount of money that we're spending?
This is the dollar. This is the dollar value.
So maybe there's just like a price of liquor thing coming into this then. Like, did the price of liquor go up during COVID, or did we get some more taxes or something?
I don't think so. Not 40%.
No,
I'm pretty sure. You'd notice that. I'm pretty sure. Like, you imagine? Okay, we're going into lockdown and 40% sales tax on beer and wine. There'd be blood in the streets.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing is that Australians they just wrote it out. They're like, that's fine. I don't care. Charge me whatever you want. Charge whatever you want. I'm not stopping buying alcohol, even at these crazy inflated prices. Food, don't need it. Whatever. I'm fine. Right, Thomas, finally on the show, secondhand sales of Teslas are up. This data sounds a little dodgy to me.
Oh, do you think? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Well, it just feels a little lacking in any kind of context that would make it useful. Anyway, you read it out and then we'll discuss.
Okay. Oh, I'm thinking like, wow.
Come on, let's hear it.
Yeah. That's it. I'm shy now.
No. We've got to get it out there. You put it on the table. I'm gonna.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway. Yeah. Okay. Use Tesla listings.
Yeah.
This is from autotrader.com. So apparently, like, it's car sales equivalent in the US. They've jumped 33% this year alone. Lifted. So I mean, it's interesting because we're hearing anecdotal evidence of people distancing themselves from mask, and new sales are down too. So like they just reported their first quarter sales, they're down 13%. And there's talk about brand damage, but and people saying like, I'm distancing themselves from, or trying to get away from brand mask. So you've been hearing that, but this is the first hard data I've seen on that. So up 33% this year.
Yeah.
Is that enough context for you?
I call it soft data.
Soft data. What's wrong?
Why? Well, it's missing I don't know. It's missing, and you probably don't have this information, but what are normal other secondhand sales doing?
That's a great question. They're up 20%.
You didn't know that. You just
I
made
did
that
know
up.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's
No,
not
no,
in the
no.
chart you gave me.
It's not.
Um,
No, it's not.
so
a
they're up
chart. But yeah,
20%.
yeah,
And Tesla sales are up 33%.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just can't believe, I don't believe that people are that attached to a person like Elon Musk or anyone for that matter, that they'd be like, I can't believe he's acting like a dick. Right, that's it. Sell the family car. I'm listing it tonight on Auto Trader because
Yeah.
Musk is behaving badly. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't.
I've definitely seen people do it. Aussie Man Reviews sold his Tesla. It's sample size of
Triggering a
one.
33% increase in US secondhand Tesla sales when Aussie Man Reviews, the social media personality in Australia, sold his Tesla.
No, but like he said, like he's uncomfortable with the direction that brand Musk is going, and he just feels uncomfortable driving a Tesla now.
I
And
know,
I reckon,
but it's a big leap to take that standpoint and kind of die on that hill and go, right, I'm selling the car. Like, it's a big investment to buy a Tesla. If you bought, and these people obviously
yeah,
bought from new, so they bought
well,
into
yeah,
it
probably.
yeah.
Mm.
Like, it's the cars couldn't be more than like 5 years old, right? They haven't been around that long.
Yeah, have to be pretty small. Yeah.
So I don't know, and I think too, there's no, we can't assume the reason people are selling their Teslas from this chart. Like, we can't go,
We
oh,
can't.
it's because they
No.
all don't like Musk. Like, maybe the lease ran out. Maybe like, maybe
Yeah, maybe.
we're just seeing the
Yeah,
first
maybe.
of
We
the
don't
fleet
know.
Teslas coming out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
CEOs loading up on Teslas to get some green credits, and then
maybe they're upgrading to Cybertrucks. Yeah. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. You can't. No, it's not definitive. You can't say for sure without surveying people. But it's a substantial difference between used car sales nationally, 13% percentage point difference. So that's substantial. And
Yeah.
yeah, it seems consistent with people being a bit uncomfortable. Some people being a bit uncomfortable owning Teslas. Like like in Washington, there's a anti-Elon Tesla owner club.
Oh, right.
So yes, people get, and people buying bumper stickers saying, "I bought this before I knew what Elon was about."
Yeah. But if you stopped using the products of every CEO or every owner of a company that wasn't, carrying themselves with distinction, then I don't know.
No. There's a big difference between where Elon Musk has gone and your average CEO. Like he's chosen to like align himself with the hard political right.
Yeah.
And taken a pretty, very strong stand on that. There's a lot of people who are uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, maybe.
And yeah, I mean, and the other thing it's interesting for Tesla is like Tesla's in its capital raising in the whole phase where it's like building itself. It built itself around Elon Musk and made him the genius. Like he's the next Steve Jobs. Like it's a one-man brand. Like name a single other person who works for Tesla.
Yeah.
Right. So Tesla
Steve.
made it all. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Steve and customer support. Yeah. But like it was the deliberate strategy early on, because it's part of the capital raising, saying we've got this, once in a generation genius. He's taking the company forward, and that creates this hype, which draws in all this investment capital, which boosts the share price.
Yeah.
And so the Tesla brand is very like deliberately tied itself to Elon Musk, which works well when everyone thinks he's a visionary genius. But once people start, half the population thinks he's a fascist, then that hurts your brand.
Yeah, no, it's probably like once he dished off the Nazi salute, it was probably some people looked in their garage and thought,
Yeah,
I'm not sure I want this car anymore.
yeah,
fair enough. I tell you what, if there's a lot of Teslas on the market, there must be a bunch of Nikolas on the market as well. Did you see the Nikola guy, the guy, the EV, the
isn't it
kind of wannabe Tesla
EV trucks?
EV trucks, yeah.
Where he's like filmed it rolling down a hill. Was it that guy? Yeah.
Did you see? Because Trump pardoned him. This is a like.
You're kidding. Did he?
No. So this guy makes like tons of money through fraud, right?
Fraud.
Donates
Yeah.
a bunch of it to Trump's re-election campaign, gets arrested and sentenced to
Wow.
jail for fraud, and then Trump pardons him because he donated heaps of money to his election campaign.
God, that is outrageous. Wow. Wow. It wasn't
So you
even
imagine-
sophisticated fraud, was it? It was
I
just
don't think
like
so.
of pretending I've made a truck and I haven't.
Well, look at it roll. Look how quiet it is.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's that. If you've got a nicola in the garage, you don't own a truck.
I don't know. They even sold. They didn't sell a single vehicle, did they?
Nah, probably.
I don't think
know.
they ever. I don't think they ever finished. They just couldn't make it work.
Yeah. I don't know. I saw that the other day. I saw the headline that he got pardoned. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. All right, that does it for this week's CVE. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at CVE Podcast. It had some issues with the YouTube podcast feed. Fix that now, though. You will need to find us again and resubscribe to that feed if that's where you get the podcast. Other than that, that's all for us for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. And we will talk to you again next time on CVE. Until then, it's bye for now.
Should we just ditch that Roy Morgan of Wingfield? Where the fuck is Wingfield?
It's out north.
Okay. All right.
Go on, get on with your data.
Yeah. Okay.
Give the people what they want.
They want. Yeah.